joining us. And as we wait to get started, just please add your name in the chat and an emoji of your choice. And here's just our website if you want more resources, but just do know everybody will receive this deck after the webinar, and we'll get started in a few minutes. Hello, everyone. We're going to get started in 1 minute. Thank you for joining the webinar. If you will, please put your name and maybe your state program in the chat and or an emoji, and we'll get started in 1 more minute. Okay, everyone, we're going to jump right in. As people continue to join, we're just going to get started so we don't waste any time. Next slide. Just a little housekeeping. We get this question a lot, so don't stress about taking, copious notes if you don't want to. You will receive the recording after the webinar, and you will receive the slides as well. During the webinar, please put your questions in the Q&A box. If you do put them in the chat, we probably will see them as well. But if you can, please put them in the Q&A box below. And then after the webinar, right after, you will get a survey that'll pop up on your screen, and we ask that you please fill it out. It's just a few questions, and it helps us to plan our future webinars so that we make sure that we're listening to feedback. Next slide. So if you've joined the webinar on celebrating students through equity, you're at the right place. We have some amazing speakers that are featured today. We're going to start out with Julie Kronebetter from the 191 Burnsville Egan Savage ISD in Minnesota. She has some amazing stories and practices she's going to share with everyone. And then she's going to pass it on to Shannon Reyna. She is a food services manager at Salt River Schools in Arizona, and talk about just all the things that they're doing to make sure that they think about community and have those tribal foods in their menus. And then last but not least, we're going to hear from Frances Montoya Gatewood, and she is the food service director at Vaughn Charter School in California. You may have seen her on another webinar, as well as Shannon, and we're just excited to hear all that she's doing to make sure that she increases access to school meals for students. And I'm your moderator, Janine Rios, and I'll be with you today moderating the discussion. After they present, we're just going to have a little discussion. And so it's going to be really exciting, and we're also welcome all your questions. Next slide, please. So we wanted to start out by sharing some of our resources. Some of the questions that we received, pre-webinar questions, were about resources and how do we find more best practices and promising practices. So I want to invite everyone to visit our Equity and Child Nutrition webpage, and the link would be in here. And then we have our updated school breakfast website. So it did shift a little during the pandemic. We had the school meals website, but we're shifting it back to school breakfast just to have that specific, those specific resources for you. So there's a lot there to explore. And here's some pictures of what that website page looks like. And then if you want to catch up on the previous webinars in this series, please visit our webinar page and you can find all those different webinars that we did. We started off with a breakfast webinar on promotion. How do you promote your program? And then of course, the next one was how do you increase participation? Because everyone's always wanting to increase their numbers. So we have a website on that. And then we brought in student voices and we heard directly from the students. What did they think would be good? How are they working with their school meals director to improve their programs? And you'll get a lot of great information from that webinar. And then this is our final webinar of 2024 to just end this series on a high note. And you'll find this one on that website as well in a few days. And then some other resources, we have our What's New newsletter that comes out once a month to share resources not only from our organization, but our partner organizations like yourselves. And then we have a specific newsletter that's short and sweet. It's all about breakfast and it gives you resources as well, webinar updates, and just little snippets of what you can do to increase your breakfast program. And that's in Breakfast Bites. Next slide. So just to do a little bit of level setting before I send it off to Julie is if you're wondering why, school breakfast matters, why school food matters, here are some of the statistics that we hear about and that we know. And that is that children consume up to 50% of their calories at school. So we know the school meals are important to our communities. Across the nation, 30 million kids eat school lunch each day. And for breakfast, that's 14.3, around 14.3 million. And when they eat school meals, they eat more fruits and vegetables, more whole grains, and it helps level set as well in terms of nutrition. And you probably heard this before, but if not, there's 22 million students that rely on free price lunches at school. So that's a huge number. And there is also a huge number that really, they need those free meals. And so there's an example of one of the resources on our equity page here on the right. It's from the Nebraska Appleseed organization, and they put together a checklist on, how to make sure that you're creating your program with equity in mind, and what are some of the things you can do to make sure that that happens. We had one of our school program managers who worked with the organization to come up with this checklist. So you can have access to that as well. Next slide. And I'm going to kick it off to Julie. Take it away.
All right, thanks, Janine. Hello, everyone. So we'll just jump right into my version of equity in our school district, and it mainly focuses on employees and recruitment and retention. I'll give you a quick snapshot of what our district looks like. We have we're just south of Minneapolis, about 15 minutes or so, and 15 minutes south of St. Paul as well, suburb of the Twin Cities. So in our community, we have 3 different cities that we serve, and 28% of the residents are born outside the country, 31% are persons of color. Our student enrollment is around 7,700, and we serve preschool through age 21. So the 21-year-olds, they could be special education students who are still working to get their high school diploma. 75% of our students are persons of color. 27% of them are English learners. We represent 86 different languages, and 46% of the students are multilingual. So it's a very diverse community. And on average, about 56% of our students qualify for free or reduced price benefits. Next slide. This is just a quick snapshot of, again, our demographics of our district, of the students. So we're about a third of Hispanic, Black or African Americans, and white Caucasian individuals. But we do have about 8% representing 2 or more races. And we have about 1,381 district employees. 19% of those employees self-report as BIPOC. Within those employees, the different employee groups that we have and their BIPOC present percentage. We have superintendent and assistant superintendent. So one is Black, one is white. Our superintendent is Dr. Teresa Battle. She's been here for probably about 6 years and just really moving the needle further on equity and diversity and doing a really great job. And our assistant superintendent is a wonderful supporter as well. Food service, we happen to have about 27 out of our 70 employees are considered as BIPOC. That is the highest group in the district. Custodial is just next, right underneath us. Our unaffiliated group of employees, they represent some of the cultural liaisons, social workers, assistant director of food service coordinator, among a lot of other different departments. Could be payroll and many others who work both at the district office and at schools. Clerical, about 30% of those employees report as BIPOC, and then teachers, 56 out of 668. So out of our 70 food service employees, this is kind of the breakdown, and I started taking some demographics in May 2023 when we received some grant funding to move forward in some diversity initiatives. And so we are gaining more Hispanic employees, and which has been great. And I'll say many of them are referrals from each other for the most part. Sometimes we get family members that have been recruited. We also have more Asians that have been working for us as well. So that's kind of where the needle has been moving as far as our demographics go. We do have about 17 active substitutes who work when called upon, and half of those are BIPOC. Also, probably similar to many of your school districts, we have, it's mainly female dominated, and we have currently only one male that's working with us. And a third of our employees are baby boomers, a third are Gen X, and about a third are millennials. I have just a couple Gen Zs that are coming in the door, which is nice to see. Our average age of our employee is about 48 years old, and many of our managers have been here at least 10 years or more, and many of them are nearing retirement age soon. So if I can just keeping employees, in the loop so that they maybe want to learn and grow into those leadership positions is something that's very key to us. These are the child nutrition services that we offer. We are CEP throughout our district, and I'll tell you more about that in a second. So we do breakfast and lunch. We also do the fresh fruit and vegetable program at all of our elementaries, and we have after-school snack at all of our elementaries and 2 of our middle schools. So you may or may not know, but Minnesota passed legislation in 2023, in late July, it was July 2023, where we can now serve students free meals, breakfast and lunch, every day. And so we are one of just a handful of states that have free meals for all. And it's been wonderful. So if you need any help trying to get your state to be in that position, please feel free to reach out to me, and either I can assist you or I'll give you some names of some individuals who really helped with that lobby work with our legislative sessions. So with that Minnesota's free school meals program, there was a stipulation in the legislation that stated if you had sites that were CEP eligible and at a certain threshold of eligibility, then you were required to do CEP. And so we had 2 of our schools that fell in that criteria. And although all of our schools were eligible, they just didn't all meet that higher threshold. And so we just decided as a whole group that we wanted it to be equitable for all and easier communication among our whole entire community. And so we went CEP for all of our schools. And so we are collecting an alternate application for educational benefits, although it is processed in our department, but we do, the general fund picks up the costs of that because that is a CEP regulation. But it has been really nice to have CEP meals, free meals for everyone, just has really reduced that stigma. Okay, next slide. And so with that, we knew that we were going to have an increase in participation. And so therefore we were going to be needing to hire more individuals. Also, breakfast had the biggest room for growth because we were already serving a majority of our students a lunch meal. And we did have breakfast already in every building, but we just knew that that was where the numbers were going to go towards. And so we have several different breakfast service models to try to make sure that meals are accessible to all. And that's something that we really have pushed to our principals and all administrators, just to let them know that we not only feed kids, but it's our purpose to make sure that students have access to state and federal programs that they're entitled to. Okay, so that's one thing that's, I think, really important to get that message across, that they need to, work with you on meal times or where students are going to eat, giving them enough time to eat, which can be a challenge, especially when you are feeding a lot of students. So we don't have enough time in the morning to get all the students through a traditional cafeteria service in some of our schools. So we have some quick serve kiosks at our middle schools or high school where it's, quickly grab and go type service. Those are right at the entrance of where the students come in from the bus. Many of our elementaries deliver food directly to the classroom. So they go around or go to every classroom and deliver breakfast meals and all the components to the classroom right before the buses come in. And then we also have second chance breakfast available. So any student that comes to school late or maybe missed the first opportunity, we do still offer second chance. And a lot of times that might be through the school secretary who is actually distributing the meal for us and checking off that the student that took it and then getting us that form, and then we're charging the student accordingly. We are still, even though we're CEP, we do record every meal through a student's PIN. So we don't do the entire count in just one tally. Just because there are sometimes opportunities where kids could go to, they could potentially get 2 meals some days in some of our locations. And so we just do it all by students have to enter their PIN. So yeah, again, I would just reiterate making sure that you're not only feeding kids, but you are the one who needs to help provide access to kids for those meals. All right, so again, looking at recruitment and retention, we knew we had to hire new employees and we needed to make sure we retained existing employees. So our meal participation has increased dramatically, not only from the first year, but even now this second year that we are in this free meals for all program. Breakfast is up 40% more than it was last year, and lunch is up 20% more than it was last year. So currently, breakfast participation, 75% of our elementary students are joining us for breakfast. 50% of our secondary students are coming to breakfast. Lunch, we have almost 90% of our elementary students are having lunch with us every day, and 80% for our secondary students. So we think those are phenomenal numbers. We are very excited to see that. And then just part of the recruitment and retention goals were to try to have a better representation of our employees to match our student demographics. So one of the first things that we did, we offered some employee equity, diversity, and inclusive training. We did that 2 times, and it was 2 4-hour sessions that employees came to our district office for. The main focus was on our district core value of being more culturally proficient. So it was a good self-reflection of yourself. That was the first session, was just understanding who you are and why you are who you are. Where's your background? Why do you do the things that you do? Why do you think some of the things that you do? And just kind of having that, finding out what your own individual assets and strengths are. And another thing that we did with that was the Gallup Strengths Finders training. So all employees were given the Strength Finders book and the code to do an online 45-minute assessment. Just answer with your gut a bunch of these questions, and it just spits out your top 5 strengths. So that was really important for people to feel empowered about who they are, and that everybody has strengths and we all are different, and let's use those strengths. Some of the other trainings that we had, it was now let's discuss some of our cultural perceptions and our implicit biases and how they affect us not only at home but at work. So we had personal stories that individuals shared, just discovering more about our own similarities and differences with each other, and it just really helped to build and develop relationships. Another fun thing that we did with the training was we had multicultural snacks provided, so that we purchased those, and it was just a fun way for people to get to try some different foods that maybe they had never been exposed to. So this is part of the cultural proficiency continuum that is really talked about a lot in our district, and everyone might be at a different path on this continuum, and we just hope that everyone is moving towards the cultural proficiency. And I just really like this slide because it can really help employees understand some of the different terms that might be used regarding equity and diversity. And so I think, this could be anything from a jacket instead of shoes that you might provide to an employee, or a t-shirt. Maybe everyone's going to get the same one-size-fits-all t-shirt, okay? And just see where does that fall in as far as your own diversity or your acceptance and the belonging of everyone. So I just like when I purchase shirts for employees, I just think of this, that I'm not just going to give everyone one shirt. I really want to know their size. I want to know if they want a V-neck or a crew neck, and just a little bit more about that type of thing when I'm purchasing something like that. But just know that this, it all just stems from this continuum and going through it. Okay. Next slide. I'm very fortunate to work.
Rush you, Julie, but you have 3-ish more minutes.
Okay. So I'm very fortunate to work in a very progressive district. We have adult basic education. We have free English learning classes. We have a lot of Spanish and Somali connections as well in our district. You can move on. So one thing that I did was I create employment recruitment flyers. And so I try to focus or showcase different employees in our kitchens, just so that maybe they resonate with an employee or applicant who might be out there. We do put these flyers in multiple different places within our district. We have food distribution, and so we hand them out in those bags when anyone in the community can come and get a bag of groceries. We have them at the clinics. A variety of locations. I send them out to school secretaries, and they can post them on their e-newsletters. Next slide. It's just another example of some of the photos of our actual employees. I also post them on big digital display boards that we have in our district office. So anywhere where I think I'm going to catch someone's attention that might be interested in applying. Next. So just looking at the employee recruitment process and the application process, we know that it is can be lengthy and geared towards teachers. So taking a look at that online application to see how can you remove any of the barriers that might be seen or experienced by individuals who are trying to apply. I offer both virtual and in-person interviews. I also offer a language interpreter, or I use translation devices. So whenever I respond to an applicant, I'm asking them, or I'm telling them the interview is going to be in English, but if you need a different a different language, please let me know so I can set up an interpreter. And an easy application that's just working with our human resources department to have some easy ways on our website where employees can just click a button, and all I'm really looking for is their name and email address or phone number, and then I can contact them, because again, that they may need to come in to our office to have the application filled out. And these are some of the devices that I've purchased for translation. One is, the first one on the left is called a Pocket Talk. That one, very easy to use. The Time Kettle earbuds is in the middle, and those I've issued to employees so they can wear. They're best if used in one-on-one meetings or with employee training, where they can listen in their native language. And so it does the conversion. It has about 84 some languages or so that can be translated. And then the far right one is used with headsets when we have larger groups needing, like I might have 6 employees that need to hear what I'm saying in Spanish. And so that's used at a employee group training. And then we also have access to a language line if we need to speak with employees or speak to parents. Next, just having some cooperation with our bilingual coworkers. So they're very valuable, and it's nice to know what languages your employees speak, because you may need them. We hire interpreters. We have direct teaching and modeling of our tasks going on in the kitchens. As you know, most of our food service employee tasks are physical, and so you can typically show an employee or model what needs to happen, and not just talk them through that. But again, we do hire interpreters or use bilingual coworkers, and then just having increased use of nonverbal communication with, thumbs up, thumbs down. What are different ways that we can communicate with them if they don't speak English or speak the language that most everyone else might be speaking in their kitchen? And then one of the recent things that we did was I created an employee tool for point of sale. So this would be used, for example, if an employee can only speak Spanish, but she might know that on the tray a student needs a half cup fruit or vegetable. Okay, but she maybe can't say it yet back to a student, so she could point to the English version, and this is large enough where a student could then read it, and so he or she may then realize, oh, I need to go get another half cup fruit or vegetable. So it's just another tool that we're trying to use. We've got it in both English and Chinese, or Spanish and Chinese right now, just to kind of help someone if they are working at a point of sale. And then lastly, just, our district leadership staff, myself and assistant director and others here at the district office, we attempt to get out to schools as often as possible just to connect with our employees, connect with the students, know everyone's names, pronounce it correctly, just getting background information, finding out about their family and what they do when they're not at work. We do reassign employees multiple times throughout the district. So that's really been nice. Employees just, they learn so much when they go to another school, whether it be just about that site or whether it be from the employees that are working there. Another thing that we're doing is creating employee spotlights with their name, photo, and fun facts, just again, so that everyone, coworkers and students, can get to know the employees better. And successes in our program, we are gaining diversity, and we're 100% fully staffed and actually have a waiting list of applicants. I've got many substitutes that I can rely on. We've definitely reduced any staff turnover. Employees enjoy those reassignments, relationships are growing, and kids are getting fed. That's the bottom line. So thank you, and now I will pass it on to Shannon.
Thank you, Julie. I really appreciated the shoe continuum. That was really clever. I like that. Also, where it really applies to school nutrition programs and how it's not one size fits all, but we can definitely custom fit to each different communities. I really like that. So, Skuktash, Anyanak Chugik, Shannon Reyna, Anyanak Food Service Manager, Salt River Schools. Anianat Autumn, Chipiposh, Chijukum. In English, I said, "Good day, my name is Shannon Reyna. I am the food service manager for Salt River Schools. I am Autumn, Piposh, and Mexican. I grew up here in Salt River. My home is very close by, and if I wanted to, I could actually walk to work. I am very blessed to be able to work in this community so close to my home, doing what I love most and providing healthy, nutritious foods to people I care for. I'm very happy to be here with you all and share a few things we are doing here in Salt River Schools. I hope my words inspire you in some way. Let me first start by telling you a little bit about Salt River. Next slide, please. We are located in Arizona on the Salt River Pima Maricopa Indian Community. Excuse me, we're a very small district compared to most. We have about 544 students at this time. We have 3 different sites. We have our Early Childhood Education Center, which is infant to 4-year-old. And we have our Salt River Elementary, which is K through 6th grade. We have our Accelerated Learning Academy, which is our older students. And we also provide meals to our Salt River school staff. We participate in the National School Lunch Program, School Breakfast Program, After School Snack Program, and we do provide summer feeding during the summer months. We are a CEP school district, meaning all our students eat for free. We serve lunch cafeteria style. We are offer versus serve at 2 of our sites, and our Early Childhood Education Center is family style dining in the classroom. For breakfast, we offer breakfast in the classroom for 2 of our sites, and our ALA, which is our older students, they are able to receive breakfast in the cafeteria. So today we're here to talk mostly about breakfast, and breakfast is the most important meal of the day. And I'm just going to share a memory, one of my favorite breakfast memories, which is about when I was a little girl. And I remember waking up at my grandparents' house, walking into the kitchen to find my grandma, Reyna, standing near the kitchen sink or next to the stove. And her first question to me was always, "Are you hungry? Do you want something to eat?" And then she would usually follow by, "Do you want eggs?" And I would always say, sleepily say yes. And she would call out to my grandpa and ask him, "Hey, can you go run and get her some eggs from the chicken coop?" And he would quickly step outside and grab some eggs and then come back in and hand her the eggs. And she would fry those up for me. And she would always ask me, "Do you want your eggs looking at you?" And I would just kind of be puzzled by what that question was, but I'd just say yes. And she'd make me some eggs and I would have my breakfast. And it wasn't until later, as I got older, when I realized she was asking me, do I want my eggs sunny side up? And so I don't know if you can see, but that's what my eggs would look like. So that's why she would say, "Do you want your eggs looking at you?" That is one of my most special memories that I have, and I hope someday I'll be able to do that for my grandchildren. So I have many memories, many stories from the kitchen, stories about my mom cooking up fried bread and beans for my brother and I, my brother and sister, my grandma chopping carrots for her famous carrot raisin salad, and my grandma Reyna frying up eggs, of course, for my breakfast. But lately, since it's Christmas time, my thoughts have been going to my grandma Hazel and my grandpa Dixon. They would always make a big batch of tamales at this time during the Christmas season. And they would always be sitting at the table, just the 2 of them sometimes, spreading masa on the tamales. So how many of you have special memories like mine? Like the smell of eggs frying always takes me back to my grandma's kitchen, and Christmas time always makes me wish that I could have one of my grandma and grandpa's tamales. Memories like that make me feel good, and they remind me of where I come from. They remind me that there are people that love me, that care enough to prepare food for me. And I know this is, for me, food is love, and I know this is true for probably everybody that's in school nutrition. Food is our love language, and it's how we show that we care. So when I'm menu planning, I try to incorporate foods that are familiar to the students, foods that their moms or their grandmas might have cooked in their homes, foods that bring that same sense of belonging and self-worth. We are especially proud to say we offer many indigenous foods and culturally relevant meals to our students. And I'm a firm believer that food is medicine. It has the power to heal and empower each of us. It can be a physical, mental, or even spiritual reminder that we are important and our lives have value, which is a very valuable lesson for every child. We do our best here at Salt River Schools to make the children feel seen and noticed and valued. So, and I feel that incorporating those indigenous foods is very important. So we try to have an indigenous ingredient on our, at least once a week on our school menus. And, you know, school, traditional foods can take a little longer to cook, but it's definitely worth it. And, you know, it can be difficult to do. Like I said, we are we serve breakfast in the classroom. So it can be difficult to kind of incorporate that type of cooking into a bag breakfast. So I know it can be limiting, but I have one idea we use is there's National School Breakfast Week every year. And so during that week, we serve breakfast for lunch throughout the week. And that's our opportunity to serve some of the breakfast items that we can't serve in a bag. So we serve it during that week, and the students really enjoy it. So I'm just, if any of you have ideas on how to serve more scratch cooking in breakfast bag, please reach out to me and let me know, because I'm always looking for ideas that other schools are doing. I found it very helpful to learn from other schools, and I really do appreciate everything everybody does. Next slide. Now I'll just kind of go through the slides and share with you what these pictures are and talk to you a little bit about this. This is one of the first cafeteria taste tests that we did using an indigenous ingredient, and it's Bodas Pirkan, which is in English, it means Pima wheat berry. And it's just the wheat berry, and you cook it, you boil it just like you would a bean. But traditionally, I remember hearing stories about some of my elders would eat this during their breakfast. And it's just like a breakfast cereal. You eat it with, they would say they had it with honey and milk. And it's really good. It's simple. It's simple. You just boil it. And later I'll have we created a recipe using this ingredient that has actually been standardized for all schools to use. I wish I had the link to provide for you all, but I didn't think of that until now. So, but later I'll show you the recipe we created. Next slide. And this is another sample we did in the cafeteria. This is for lunch. It's the swambob. It's a brown peppery bean, which is very special to me and my family. And I know most O'odham and Peepash. This is a very special bean that is cooked, especially. I like to compare it to us as Native people, especially the O'odham, because it is a very resilient, and it survives in drought. It survives during very harsh times. And I like to say that it's, you know, it represents us as O'odham people also. So I really love this bean. That was a taste test that we did at school, and it's surprisingly, even though it's very important to us, a lot of the students haven't tried it, like some of, you know, the younger kids. So it was really nice to give this to them and have them taste it. Next slide. And this is meron, which is melon, which is also a traditional food. And this is really good. The students love melon, so this one is a good one to incorporate into your breakfast bags. You can chop it, dice it, and put it in a cup with a good lid, and add it to your breakfast bags. Next slide. Oh, this is a recipe that we created here in Salt River Schools, and we call it the autumn koji wrap. Koji means pig, so that is a pork rib, barbecue pork rib, and it has a little bit of coleslaw, and it's just wrapped in a tortilla. It's really good. Next slide. And this is using the melon. It's just agua fresca, and so I feel it's really important to incorporate all cultures, different things, as we know that's you traditionally find this in Mexican restaurants, and but it's a really simple recipe. The kids love it when we serve it. But next slide, please. And this was another recipe that was sampled. It wasn't created by Salt River Schools, but it's wheat berry made into a pilaf, like a rice pilaf, but with the wheat berry. And we also sampled that in the class, in the cafeteria, and the kids really liked it. That's one of my favorite pictures. That little boy is just so cute. Next slide. And this is the recipe that I was talking about. The slide on the muffin is actually a blue corn muffin, which is a good breakfast item. It's just made with blue corn, half blue corn and half all-purpose flour, and it has a little bit of buttercream frosting on top. But that is a favorite. We actually served that to one of our after-school events. We made 250 of those blue corn muffins, and the parents and families really appreciated it. But this one here is our Otis Pecan Parfait. It's called a wheat berry parfait, and it's just really simple. You use those wheat berries that you saw on the first slide. They're just cooked, and you layer it as you would any other parfait. Excuse me. But this is a good way to incorporate indigenous ingredients into your breakfast menu. Like that one we serve every now and then. It's a favorite out here, and it has been standardized. I'm quite proud of that it's been standardized by ABE. And next slide. I think that was okay. This is different taste tests. There's also the blue corn mush, which is traditionally a Dene Navajo recipe, but we've also incorporated it into our breakfast menu. Not too easy to do in the bag, but like I said, when we have National School Breakfast National School Breakfast Week, we can serve it during that time, or sometimes we could do it at the early childhood because they eat in their classroom. And that is it.
Thank you, Shannon. Without further ado, we're going to pass it to Francis. Francis, you have about 12 to 13 minutes, and then we're going to round up with probably one question.
I got this, Janine, no worries. Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me, and well put together presentations, ladies. Oh my gosh, mine is going to be short and sweet, but I also have a lot to say. So let's get it rolling. Next slide. Today's topics, I'm going to do a little introduction, and I'm going to say, and then we're going to say, do kids even like breakfast? We don't know sometimes, right? How do we get them to like breakfast? We're going to have some tips and ideas and a little inspiration. Let's see if I can get that going. Next slide. And my name is Frances Montoya Gatewood. I've had over 20 years of experience in child nutrition. I've worked in school districts, and for the past 7 years, I've been honored to work at Vaughn Next Century Learning Center here in Southern California in the San Fernando Valley, where we feed about 98% free and reduced. So we're getting, we are really, truly getting the chance to feed hungry students. I'm a chef by trade. But when I got that 2-hour position 20 years ago, feeding kids out of the snack shack at a middle school, I really found my true passion, which is feeding hungry kids and making sure they have access to nutritious and high quality meals. And through No Kid Hungry, I've been able to extend that arm, not only in schools, but doing webinars like this. This is one of the fancy pictures No Kid Hungry came and took. I think I'm looking in the distance to see how other ideas I can think of. I promise that every slideshow I do, I'm going to put a different one of these pictures just to show everyone. Next slide. All right. Do kids like eating breakfast? Yes, no, and I don't know, because sometimes it's hard to figure out. You'll hear people say students that are hungry will eat, right? And if the food is good, they're going to eat. If the food looks good, they're going to eat. Well, if we could just do that, oh my God, we have it locked up and, let's go home early, right? But sometimes the answer is doesn't seem like it, like a no, right? Everyone likes to eat. No, not everyone likes to eat first thing in the morning because I'm out there and they're like, pass, no, thank you. And they want choices. This is my, kind of thoughts like, okay, they're just getting, maybe 1, 2, 3 items as choices, but having more choices, that whole, variety. Maybe not everybody likes the same thing every day. We don't all like the same things. And sometimes I'm like, I have no idea because today nobody's eating, or I thought I nailed that menu. And how do we figure this out? I had one picky eater in my household. Now I feel like I have 2,000 picky eaters, right? But my board president said that he said, Francis, at a parent meeting, do you have a picky eater at home? I'm like, yes. And he goes, how many do you have now? And I'm like, you are so right. So all these answers might be true for some students, but not for all. And we are the ones that have to figure this out. So let's talk about some ideas and tips that I've used along the way. I know that there's 3 questions that I'm always asking myself is, what is good to them? Right? What we can have this fancy menu. We can have all the salad bars and all the fresh everything we want, but is the intake going to happen? Are they going to choose these items, right? And especially if we're talking about breakfast, when do they want to eat? First thing in the morning between 7 and 8? Or do they need a minute? Do they need that first nutrition to eat? Do they need that choice? Do you have that option, right? And maybe we need to ask them, when are you hungry? Did your mom feed you before you came? Is that why you're not eating? What is the information, engaging with them? I think it's very important to ask these 3 questions just to get started. Next slide. Okay. So, like I said, engage with the students. Sometimes it's one eye open and I'm like, why aren't you eating breakfast today? And they're like, I'm not hungry. Well, will you be hungry later? Why don't you put it in your backpack? Something like that. And some of them don't want, but again, the ones that are hungry, they're going to come and eat. I put out some surveys last year at the tail end of school. Every student gave me feedback. What I did is I immediately changed the things that I could so that they could see that the immediate results happen. They love that. Guess what? On back to school this year, they were telling their parents. So drawing that communication line and giving them a line of communication with food service is so important. They feel empowered, giving them knowledge. We had assemblies. I will tell you, I have not, and some of you I know may have, but I have not addressed complete student bodies before. I did a 3 assembly series back to back. I didn't know what I was in for, but I did it and it was about wellness. And I was like, okay, to tell you the honest truth, I thought I was addressing the teachers until I saw the students file in and I was like, pivot, pivot, pivot. And I'm like, I had a 10-page snooze fest. So pivoting to the kids, but guess what? They want to hear about, if you relate to them, what you put in your body is what you're going to give, what your body is going to give back to you, right? So fruits and vegetables in the morning, you're not going to be so tired. Your teacher's not going to ask you to pay attention. Relating all of those things and how they're bringing snacks and hey, maybe you challenge somebody to a basketball game at recess. Do you want to be a slug because you ate Cheetos, or do you want to be like ready to win that game, when it's time? So, engaging with them is really, and however you feel comfortable, or however your staff feels comfortable, make engagement an every day, and if not every day, every week. We do have the opportunity to engage with every single student in the school. That is pretty powerful. I do go to a lot of parent meetings. I engage with parents all the time. I want them to know that, hey, here's my number, call me, text me. I love all those ideas that Julie gave, because I do have mostly Spanish speaking parents. I am not fluent in Spanish, but I sure can text. But I would love to be able to be in a meeting and not have a translator. So some of those tools that you showed in your slideshow, I definitely am going to be utilizing here at Vaughn. Thank you very much. And what does breakfast look like at home? We have a lot of culturally relevant recipes here, like Shannon shared a ton, and your tear-jerking stories. Oh my gosh, Shannon, I was thinking about my grandma and how she would make me cream of wheat every morning and that toast. Oh my gosh. Um, that's what we want our kids to think about for us. If our kids aren't getting those special connections in the morning with their family members, why can't they get those special connections with us? Why can't we? We're extension of the community. We are the community. So think about all of these things, because they're inspirations. I've been inspired on these last two presentations, and just with writing these slides and things like that, it inspires more ideas. You always look at what the most popular item is on the menu, put it on more times. Sometimes that popular item rotates and you're like, okay, I'm never going to figure this out, but at least you're trying, right? And then again, I'm going to circle back to what time is best for them to eat, because if you do have a pin system or punch system, we are CEP as well. We have clickers. But if you have a pen system, then they can choose to eat before school or at nutrition. Another idea, and you'd have to work with your state agencies or No Kid Hungry, however, is for the share table leftovers. You might be able to redistribute that food to those students that didn't take it. So we have all of our students go through our breakfast line so that every student has the opportunity to take lunch or to take breakfast if they would like to. And if they don't and they want to share it, they certainly can. And then they can have it for later. We make that happen for them because we know that they don't always want to eat at that moment. So we share it again with them. So again, it's an idea, and you can see you can make it work for your school and what your options are. Because I did see a question in the chat saying, how did you get the principal's buy-in? Well, you go up to them and you say, hey, let's have a meeting and how we can get more food into these bellies so that we're setting the kids up for success in the classroom. Because our part in school is to not only feed them and make access for food, but to fuel them so that they're set up for the day. Incorporate your program as part of the education, because when you insert yourself, guess what? Then now you're a part of a team. Maybe they didn't include you at first, or maybe they wanted to, or maybe nobody said anything. Say something. Hey, we're a part of this team too. And this is how we can help you. This is our part of school safety. This is our part in education. So don't be afraid to put yourself in there. I know I'm not, even if people are like, well, I never thought about that. I go, well, let's talk about it. Next slide. Okay, I know I didn't have a whole lot of time and I probably have 1,000 other things that I can say, but I did want to show you one of the things in regards to options in this picture. I thought of, hey, our middle schoolers are the toughest to feed. What can I think of? Well, I thought about options. I thought about, 7-Eleven. That's a local convenience store over here in Southern California. I'm not sure if it's nationwide, but I thought, hey, you see that rack with like 100 options, and maybe today I don't always wanna pick the same one. So this style of serving breakfast is what inspired this, pick 1, pick 2. So there's some items that they can pick 2 of, some items they pick 1, they have their fresh fruits and vegetables first. I mean, well, fresh fruits. And then their milk after. So, switching it up, don't stop evolving your program. And I will say that sometimes we kind of stay like, this is working, we get the most here. But how about trying something new? How about showcasing new things? A lot of times we get bored, kids get bored too. So I'm gonna go ahead and read this. Is creating successful school meals isn't just about food, it's about connection, creativity, and persistence. By listening to students and parents, engaging at assemblies, club meetings, and meal times, and staying inspired through trends, magazines, and creative displays, we can make meals not only nutritious, but excite. The work we do impacts every child who walks into the cafeteria. Let's keep listening, innovating, and trying because every effort we make helps create a better experience for our students. I want to thank you for all your dedication and for making a difference every single day. I don't usually do well at reading. It's usually something I just say, but I wanted to make sure that I got all of that through because I look through magazines, I look at what's trending right now, that cucumber salad thing, put it on the menu. Guess what? They're gonna think that's so cool, and you can just try and insert certain things into your menus as you see that would fit to your student body. Um, I just wanna say that, don't stop trying again, and there's always, somewhere to inspire students to eat. I appreciate everybody for listening and will be happy to share any ideas that I've had in the past or, in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Francis. Thank you, Julie. Thank you, Shannon. Next slide.
Yeah.
And now we don't have a lot of time, but we do have a few questions that have come in. So I'm going to send those to our speakers by asking them. The first question, I believe it was directed towards you, Julie. It says, what funds did you use to hire these extra people that help distribute breakfast to students? Or were these employees?
Yes, all these are employees, and so just the increased meal participation caused increased revenue from reimbursement. And so, yeah, had no problem hiring new employees. We knew that the demand was going to be there, and it was.
That's awesome. Thank you. And the next question is, when do you use the kitchen so that you're not getting in the way of food service? Do you use food service equipment to cook? And that can be for everybody. Or any.
Yeah, we're cooking scratch as much as we can in our food service kitchen. I think this was from Shannon. I didn't know if they thought that her program was apart from the National School Lunch Program, but you talked about standardized recipes, Shannon. So I think that's you're good to go with using all food service.
Yeah.
There's one more question that came in, and then I have a few other questions. Are there alternative foods for children with different needs, specifically accessibility related to allergies, sensitivities?
I'd like to answer that question, although I'm trying to take over You know what I do is I call mom or dad or grandma when I get that special diet request or meal accommodation, and I ask them what are they eating at home, and I see how I can incorporate their favorites at home to what we can provide here at school, so that it kind of keeps them safe as well as provides them a reimbursable meal.
Thank you. Julie and Shannon, do you have anything to add?
No, that was a good answer. That's basically what we do.
Yeah, we also make modifications based on those special diet statements. We do have a 1 week menu for students if they have very complex allergies, meaning that they have, 2 or more allergies to certain foods. But otherwise, most parents can just go to our website and strike out if it's peanuts or eggs or wheat, whichever, or multiple items if a student can't have those things or shouldn't have those things. And then they can still kind of self-select and come up with a reimbursable meal.
Awesome. Thank you. Out of respect for time, I just have one question for all of you, and that is the takeaway question. If resources were unlimited, what would the ideal most equitable school breakfast program look like? And I'll let whoever wants to start, and then we'll just go through.
For me, it would just be being able to cook a scratch-made breakfast. Yeah, something healthy, something the kids would eat. I would love to be able to cook scratch-made breakfast for all the students, but breakfast in the classroom is good too, but a home-cooked breakfast is the best.
And would it be the eyes looking or the eyes not looking?
Eyes looking.
Okay.
Yeah,
Francis or
I think that's true. I mean, scratch cooking is the best for sure. But just asking them, make your menu and then let's do it and be inspired by that. I will tell you that we have an old kitchen that we're sunsetting because we got a new one. And I'm going to make that into a test kitchen. So our families, our board members, our staff, our students are going to be able to bring recipes to the table, and we're going to do a test kitchen for them. And I think that right there is going to kind of answer that question for everyone. So we're going to be able to connect.
And for me, it would just be that all decisions are made with students in the primary focus. And so some of the talk about how did you get principal buy-in? Again, just, what's the best thing for the student is the question to come back to them. And, have they eaten breakfast themselves and how do they feel? And what do we know about our students? We don't know who's eaten breakfast and who hasn't. And so again, giving every student access and making it a student-focused decision in all, the entire realm of our day.
Wow. Thank you to everyone. I feel like we do these webinars frequently. We hear about all these best practices, and I feel like I've learned so much today. Like y'all have taught me so much in just here. You've touched my heart, and also just touched everyone with your ideas and just innovations and the way you just keep it going and keep digging to find those new and next things. So just thank you everyone for your participation. Everyone, please fill out the survey. And you will get the recipes. I'm going to add the recipe that Shannon shared to the follow-up email, and anything else that the presenters want to share, we'll add in there as well, or anything that was asked. Thank you again, and have a great afternoon and a great holiday. Take care.